Hi, I'm Kirby Allison, founder of The Hanger Project, and here at The Hanger Project, we love to help the well-dressed take care of their wardrobes. In today's video, I'm going to be polishing my George Cleverley Baron de Redé bespoke shoes for the first time. Now this is my second pair of Baron de Redé loafers, or casuals, and my sixth pair of bespoke shoes from Cleverley, and I have to say, I couldn't be any more happy with how these shoes have turned out. Those of you who've seen some of our other videos, you're aware of kind of the evolutionary process along with this particular Baron de Redé model. This Baron de Redé model is one of the samples that Cleverley travels around with, and if anyone's had an opportunity to go to a Cleverley trunk show and actually see the Baron de Redé shoes in person, they are absolutely incredible. This man had some of the most beautiful shoes that's come out of any shoemaker in London, and he had an incredible collection of shoes. So many shoes that towards the end of his life, he actually gave some of those back to Cleverley to travel around with. George Cleverley Sr. tells a really funny story where Baron de Redé in his later years, was chauffeured from his hotel in a Rolls Royce to the Royal Arcade, and he'd get out of the Rolls Royce, walk about 15 feet, to the Cleverley shop and walk inside, and there he'd chat with George for hours. And one day he came with a bag full of a few of his shoes and gave them to George and said, Mr. Glasgow, you might like to have these shoes. I think that if you were to put them in your shop window, you'd probably sell quite a few pairs. So he certainly was a man who very much knew or had confidence in his style and his elegance, and really worked with them to create some absolutely incredible, beautiful shoes. And this Baron de Redé loafer is probably one of the most beautiful, elegant, casual shoes that I've ever come across. First pair I commissioned was in a brown pigskin with some antiquing, and I loved them so much, but they needed a little bit more work on the pattern that I decided to have this burgundy pair commissioned in pigskin also. So this second pair, Cleverley really just absolutely nailed this. As you can see, they were able to elongate the vamp, pull this back and really sweep it towards the hindquarters, and it just creates an absolutely incredible, sleek, elegant shoe that I've honestly fallen in love with. Another detail that you'll see is that this detail across the vamp is actually hand sewn, and it just creates a little bit more texture and a little bit stronger of a lip as that comes across, and it's another one of those bespoke details. It has, of course, an absolutely beautiful heel. As you can see, the way that this heel is built up is a little bit taller with a slight pitch, and where the hindquarters meets the heel, you can see there's absolutely no gap here. I mean, this is executed perfectly. And then if you look at the heel, like this, you can see, again, the hallmarks of a bespoke heel where it's really built to kind of follow along the lines and the silhouette of the shoe itself. And you can see it's pitched in a little bit more on the interior edge than it is on the outside edge. Again, kind of one of those bespoke hallmarks. Has a nice tight waist, and then just a beautiful kind of elegant shape to it. So absolutely beautiful shoe. I'm so happy with this. I've actually ordered another third pair in black, and I was having a conversation with a friend of mine about this shoe in particular, and how I've got it in brown. I've just received a pair in burgundy, and that I've commissioned another pair in black pigskin also, and that I was kind of thinking to myself on an airplane that I sure would love to have this pair and like a crocodile, a dark brown crocodile also. And he was giving me a hard time. He was like, well, how many pairs of the same shoe do you need? And my response was that, well, if they're all different colors and made from different materials, they're different shoes, so I could never have too many. And the beauty of bespoke is once you find something that you truly fall in love with, you can have as many pairs made as you want, and that is perfectly okay and acceptable. Another thing that I love about this particular shoe is it just really personifies kind of the bespoke experience to me. And that, bespoke is a process, it's not a result. The difference in the first shoe to the second pair that you see right here really represents the evolution of that collaboration, between a client and his shoemaker to really develop and evolve not just the fit of the last, but also even the patterns that are being used to make the particular shoes themselves. So I've worn these, faithfully over a few months, and haven't had an opportunity to polish them yet. And so in this video, we're gonna be doing a first polishing for these George Cleverley bespoke Redé pigskin loafers. So since these are a relatively new pair of shoes, what I'm gonna do is a really kind of light polishing. So I wanna start off with some Saphir Renovateur just to condition and further hydrate this leather. And then I'm gonna do just a real light coat of a burgundy Saphir Pommadier cream polish. I don't think that these shoes need much pigment because, again, they're so new. And then what I'm gonna really focus on here is just giving it a really nice kind of wax finish. Pigskin does a great job really kind of absorbing and soaking in that wax, and you can get just an absolutely beautiful polish in a pair of pigskin shoes. So I'm gonna start with a little bit of mirror gloss kind of around the toe, and then buff it off to kind of a light shine, not a super high gloss shine because again, this is a casual shoe, but just a nice kind of elevated shine to really show that these shoes are a pair that are well looked after. As with all of our videos, if you have any questions about this process or anything that I'm doing in this video, feel free to ask them in the comments section below. I always get back to those comments personally, and I love to hear the type of questions that you guys have because I want to help you guys elevate your shine game. The first step is going to be to condition the shoes using the Saphir Renovateur. And I really prefer to apply my Saphir Renovateur and really all my cream polishes using a cotton chamois. But you can also use a dauber just as fine. You know, the dauber uses a little bit more polish, so you have to spend a little bit more time buffing. I like to use the chamois because I particularly feel like I really can control the amount of polish that I'm applying. So I'm going to apply some Saphir Renovateur on the tip of my cotton chamois, and then I like to just kind of blot it around the shoe so that whenever you first take the chamois to the shoe itself, you don't end up with this huge blob of polish in one area. I find that that kind of helps me spread it out. And then I'm just going to massage this into the leather using medium to firm pressure and circular motions. So again, the purpose here is to just hydrate this leather. The Saphir Renovateur is really like liquid gold. You know, it can be used on almost anything. I mean, any smooth leather, whether it be cordovan, pigskin, calfskin, crocodile, alligator, ostrich. I mean, the Saphir Renovateur can be used on practically anything. And it's just such a great product. I mean, I call it liquid gold because for one, it's so effective at really kind of hydrating and nourishing the leather. And then secondly, it's just a versatile product, which I appreciate. Okay, so once I applied the Saphir Renovateur, I'm gonna set this shoe aside. And then while that's drying, I'm gonna repeat the same process with the other shoe. Now, another thing that I really love about these loafers is, again, just how big of an evolution they were between the first pair and this one. Really in like all the best ways. I mean, not only were we really able to work on the pattern and heighten the elegance and sleekness, in my opinion, working with Adam Law, the head last maker at Cleverley, we were able to absolutely nail the fit. I mean, these shoes fit like gloves, and for a casual to fit so well, because there's so much kind of less shoe to really kind of conform and hug the foot, it's even more difficult. You know, a lot of shoemakers actually require that you have several pairs of Oxfords made before they'll even attempt to do a casual, just because, you know, they want to perfect the last as much as possible before they step into casual territory, just because it's so much more difficult to get the last to fit the foot well. Now the left shoe has dried, and so I'm going to buff the polish off. And one of the things I'm going to use for this pigskin shoe is our new Hanger Project pig bristle brush. This has the absolute highest quality pig bristle that is available, and it's cut to a 30mm cut length. And so it's a really long pig bristle. And I like that because it still maintains the stiffness of pig bristle without being too rigid or hard, which is what you can find on some of the pig bristle brushes cut to a shorter bristle length. And then as you can see here, it just has absolutely incredible density. And so the slightly stiffer bristle of a pig bristle brush is really great for any type of leather with texture. So pigskin, hatch grain, pebble grain, any type of textured leather that is really prone to the accumulation of polish, you're going to do a much better job buffing the polish off of the leather using a pig bristle brush than you will with a horsehair brush. It's not to say that you can't use a horsehair brush if that's the only brush you have. You probably just need to spend a little bit more time and a little bit more effort brushing the shoe. But if you have a pig bristle brush, I absolutely recommend it for any type of textured leather. Another characteristic of the Saphir Renovateur that I really like is that it's a conditioner, but it also contains a really light amount of soft waxes. So in addition to the nourishment of the leather, you're still able to buff a really nice soft shine out of the Saphir Renovateur. Okay, so I think I've got all the polish off. I'm going to set this aside and then buff the other shoe. So with just one coat of the Saphir Renovateur, we've really brought up a nice soft shine. And honestly, for a lot of people, this may be enough shine for a pair of shoes. But I really want to take it a little bit farther. I want to continue to evolve this shoe, the patina, the depth of the color. And so next what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply some of the Saphir Medallion Pommadier cream polish in the pigmented burgundy color. Here at the Hanger Project, we really recommend the primary use of a pigmented cream polish in the regular care of your shoes because not only is the Pommadier cream polish going to do a fantastic job further conditioning the leather and keeping it soft and supple, hydrated, preventing any type of drying that may lead to cracking, but every pair of shoes needs a pigment every once in a while just to renew the finish. So this is a new pair of shoes. I've worn them, probably, 10, 15 times over the last 2 or 3 months. They don't need a ton of pigment, but I'm gonna add some anyway just because I want to give the finish a little bit of additional depth. One of the great things about the Saphir Medallion is that there are so many different colors. So, we actually have a burgundy color polish, so I know it's a perfect match. But matching your polish is more of an art than it is a science. If you have a perfect match, that's great, but it's really not that necessary because although there is a very strong pigment in a cream polish, it still has a certain level of transparency. So it's not like you're going to totally alter the finish of your shoe just by applying a few coats of a cream polish. But I'm going to apply the Saphir Pommadier cream polish in the same way that I applied the Saphir Renovateur. It's just using my cotton chamois, and less is more. You don't want to put too much polish because it just begins to gunk and you have to spend more time buffing it off. But I'm going to massage this in, again, medium to firm pressure, small circular motions, and I'm just trying to get this into the leather. If you have any type of scratching or scuffing, the pigmented cream polish is going to be what conceals that. But even if you don't have any scratching or scuffing, it's always nice to put a little bit of pigment on the shoes just because it helps renew that finish. Okay, so I've got that on the shoe. I'm going to set that aside and then begin to work on the right shoe. Okay, polish has been applied. I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to pull out the left shoe. Again, I'm going to buff it using the same pig bristle brush. Now this is an important note. I'm using the dark bristle because the burgundy is more of a darker polish, and so I wouldn't want to use this same brush to buff, say, a light brown pair of shoe, because then I could end up with streaking. So it's always good to have a shoe shine brush that you use for your dark polishes, normally just identified by a dark bristle, and then a second shoe shine brush with lighter bristles that you use for all of your lighter colored polishes. I mean, you can really just see the shape that they got with this waist here. I mean, this is really absolutely incredible. I mean, this is, to me, again, the pinnacle of elegance and craftsmanship, is to just be able to sculpt this outsole like this, to still have an instep that's supported, is really just the hallmark of a great shoemaker. So we've got 2 coats of polish. We've got 1 coat of the Saphir Renovateur. We've got a coat of the Saphir Pommadier cream polish. With each successive coat of polish, you're going to be applying more waxes to the leather itself, and with that you're going to see the shine begin to elevate. Now there's a functional limit to how shiny you can get a pair of shoes using cream polishes because there's not a high concentration of hard waxes in a cream polish. The waxes in a proper cream polish like the Saphir Pommadier cream polish is really more of the softer waxes. So you're able to get a nice soft shine. You don't have to worry about any type of cracking. You know, they're easy to kind of reshine by just simply buffing with a brush, but you're not going to get that really kind of elevated high shine that you get with the wax polish. So next, I'm going to apply 1 coat of a wax polish in a burgundy, again, just to further elevate the shine. I don't want to take it too high, but I would like to bring it up a little bit, and it's always good to at least have 1 coat of a hard wax polish on a pair of shoes, just to give the shoes that extra bit of waterproofing and protection that you get with those harder waxes. Next, I've got the Saphir Pate Deluxe wax polish in burgundy also. And so I'm going to apply this using a cotton chamois. But I'm not going to use the same cotton chamois I used to apply the cream polish. Really with my waxes, I prefer to use the Hanger Project High Shine chamois that we have made out of a really high quality Giza 180 cotton shirting. It's an absolutely incredible chamois, and it's perfect for applying polish because it really allows you to control the amount that you're applying. And then once you get to the point or the stage where you're actually kind of developing that mirror shine with the chamois, all of the best shoe shiners around the world, you'll always find them using cotton shirting, not a plush chamois whenever doing a mirror gloss. So I'm going to apply the wax polish in the same way. I've got some of my cotton chamois, and I'm just going to apply it again with medium to firm pressure, small circular motions. And again, this isn't the mirror shine process right here, so you can be a little bit more generous in the application of your wax polish, because I'm going to buff this off with a horsehair brush. You don't need to apply as thin of a layer as you would with a mirror shine. Applying some extra polish to the heel, again, just to protect the shoe here on the instep. Okay, so I'm going to set this shoe aside, let that polish begin to dry. If you have a small fan, you can always place that underneath a fan. It'll just help accelerate the drying of the polish. The Saphir Pate Deluxe is an absolute pleasure to use. If you haven't seen the video where we compare the Pate Deluxe with other polishes, search for it on our YouTube channel. I believe the title of the video is What's the Best Shoe Polish? And we really demonstrate in that video conclusively the fundamental difference between the Saphir Pate Deluxe wax polish and a lot of the other polishes you find out there in the marketplace. And the most important kind of differentiator, most important, there's several, but one of the major kind of points of differentiation of the Saphir Pate Deluxe is that it uses a really high quality pine-based turpentine. And it has a much higher concentration of turpentine or the solvent than other polishes. And so what you get with the Saphir Pate Deluxe is it's going to penetrate into the leather so much more effectively than ordinary polishes to deliver that nourishment, to help penetrate and really soak those waxes into the leather. In addition to that, there's no question that the Saphir Pate Deluxe uses a higher quality of wax, the carnauba, the montan wax, the beeswax. It has over 7 different types of waxes in the formulation, just to provide a really high quality shine that isn't just high quality but persistent and long lasting. And those are some of the characteristics that our customers really come back to us and talk to us most about with the Saphir polish, is not only were they able to work out just an absolutely incredible shine, but they're surprised at how long it lasted. Now that this polish is dried, I'm going to buff it off. I'm going to use a horsehair brush now, just because you know, I want to buff a little bit of faster speed to really elevate the shine of this polish. I don't want to take too much of it off because, again, the purpose is to kind of leave this on the shoe. So I'm going to buff a little bit more than I would if I had a pig bristle brush because the bristle is softer on this horsehair brush, but it's still going to do the job. So it's the friction of the bristle and the heat that creates on the wax that actually creates a shine. So you really want to brush quite vigorously back and forth because that's what's going to really cause those waxes to shine up. So again, just one coat of the Saphir Pate Deluxe and you can see the shine is significantly elevated beyond where we were just with the cream polishes. I'm going to try buffing just a little bit more with our new horsehair buffing brush. This has a 38 millimeter cut length on the bristle. And so I'm just going to see if this elevates the shine even more. So the Hanger Project buffing brush is really a perfect brush for maintenance. Because it has such a long, kind of soft horsehair bristle, it's not going to disrupt the shine, but at the same time, it's still going to provide a nice soft buff to, again, kind of rebuff those waxes to the extent that they've dulled. So I really like to have one of these in my closet. You know, what I'll do is at the beginning of the day, you know, before I leave, I'll just buff the shoes real quickly to kind of clean them off, any dust that may have accumulated, and kind of re-glissage them. And then at the end of the day, I always buff down my shoes, you know, for a few minutes just because I want to get any of the dirt that's kind of accumulated on top of the uppers off of the shoe before I put it down to store. So here we are, really nice shine. I'm going to apply a little bit of the mirror gloss using a cotton chamois just to further elevate the shine around the toe box and just kind of see how that works. So let's do that next. So in order to really elevate the shine here on the toe, I'm going to use the Saphir Mirror Gloss, which is a new product that we worked with Saphir to actually develop for the marketplace. And what this does is it has a much higher concentration of those hard waxes, the Monton wax, you know, those really hard waxes that develop that high gloss shine. And it's a much drier polish, much less solvent in here. And so it's really good at developing kind of that foundation of hard waxes that serves as the basis for a nice high gloss shine. It really accelerates the process of elevating the shine. I mean, whereas you'd have to spend, you know, 20-30 minutes with the Pate Deluxe because it's quite wet, it's got a lot of solvents in it. With the mirror gloss, I mean, you can really, in 5 to 10 minutes, do a lot of work. Since I'm using a neutral mirror gloss here, I'm actually going to use a neutral Pate Deluxe for that kind of final buffing. The reason is the mirror gloss is so much more effective whenever you apply the mirror gloss as a foundation and then you buff it with the higher solvent Pate Deluxe. And I don't want to take the burgundy Pate Deluxe and you know, into my mirror gloss just because it will turn this red. So I prefer not to do that. So again, I mean, the mirror gloss, as you can see, is an incredibly hard wax. I'm pressing down on this right here. I mean, you can really see how much harder. That same amount of pressure on the Pate Deluxe, you know, I'd push my finger all the way through it. But you want to apply a pretty firm amount of pressure to really get some of this wax out. I mean, sometimes you can actually even use a dauber to help roughen the surface a little bit as you're beginning, just to kind of break that up and soften it up a little bit. But I've got it here, and I'm just applying it really on the front of the shoe. Now, I have the benefit of having worn these shoes, so I can see kind of where the vamp is starting to crease. So whenever you're doing anything with the mirror gloss, you really want to keep it forward of any of the creasing, because if you develop, you know, a nice kind of mirror shine with the mirror gloss and then flex that leather, it'll crack immediately and begin to develop kind of some white residue. So this is something you really just want to keep, you know, on the hard countered areas of the shoe where you're not going to have to worry about any cracking. So there we go. I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to do the same to the just toe here. And again, medium to firm pressure to really get some of this on my chamois. Again, you know, here I can stand to be a little bit liberal because, again, I want to develop that foundation. It dries quite quickly, again, because it doesn't have a high solvent content, but I'm gonna apply a second coat. Again, just right on top of that first one. So I'm gonna let this dry a little bit, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna find a clean area of the chamois. I'm gonna wrap this in my hand, and then what I wanna do is I'm gonna first just take a little bit of water using my water dispenser, and I'm just gonna begin kind of buffing this. Now this is the real kind of you know, magic portion of the process, if you will. You really can't rush it. A little bit of water, a little bit of just the Pate Deluxe, and you just need to sit here and buff this until you see a shine begin to develop. Now with the texture of this pigskin, you know, we're not going to see a high gloss shine like we would on a truly smooth leather, but we will certainly still see the shine elevate. A little bit of wax, again, that's just going to help provide that little bit of polishing. I'm going to set that aside for a few seconds, let that continue to dry. It's really important that those hard waxes dry because otherwise it won't develop to a nice high gloss shine because you're essentially just pushing those waxes around. Okay. And because of the textured surface of this pigskin, it's taken a lot longer to develop the shine that we have here than it would have on a smooth leather. The reason is, in order to produce that shine, what you're doing is you're smoothing the surface out so that light reflects. And so because it's an inconsistent surface to begin with, it just takes that much longer to really build that shine. So I've had to spend a little bit more time, you know, really kind of rubbing and kind of building those layers up than I would have otherwise. I think this is a really nice soft shine. I mean, it's certainly not a mirror shine, but that's not what I was going for here. Really, I just wanted a little bit of extra shine on the toe here, just to give it a little bit of a pop, but without being, you know, too loud, and I think that I've achieved that, so I'm really happy with this. The mirror gloss, you know, is an absolutely phenomenal product. I mean, it's one of the biggest hacks for mirror shine, you know, since the high shine chamois. And so anyone that's spending a lot of time and really enjoys kind of elevating the shine, I mean, I don't know how you could live without the mirror gloss now that it's available. The only thing left outstanding on these shoes that I'd like to do is to apply a little bit of that mirror gloss onto the edges and the heels, just to further kind of elevate that shine. I feel like edges and heels are often the most neglected part of a shoe. Even someone that's spending a lot of time taking good care of their shoes often is not paying proper attention to the edges and heels. And a properly shined edge and heel, I feel like, is really that final detail, that final 5–10% that really, really sets a shoe up. The mirror gloss is exceptional for developing that high shine on the edges and heels because, again, it's such a high concentration of hard waxes. And that's really all you need or all you want on the edges and heels, just those hard waxes that you can buff to a shine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a welt dauber, and I'm going to apply a pretty generous amount of a mirror gloss using the dauber. So you can see this here. I've got, you know, a pretty generous amount of this hard wax. And the reason that it's okay to be a little bit more generous here is because, again, you're going to pretty vigorously buff this off using a dauber. So you don't have to worry about it accumulating too much. So again, I'm going to just apply this, and you can see it's a pretty thick application. I mean, you would never do that to the leather itself, but it's okay on the edges and heels, especially the heel. Okay, so I've got the heel done. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go through here and apply this onto the welt. Or not the welt, but the edge. I'm even smoothing it out a little bit just with my finger, just to make sure that I've got it. So I'm gonna set this aside. Because it's a pretty thick coat, I'm gonna need to allow that, probably 20 minutes to fully dry. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna just buff it off using another dauber. I'm just gonna allow this a little bit of extra time to dry, and then we're gonna buff it off. I've allowed this Saphir mirror glass to dry, so the waxes have hardened. And so what I'm gonna do next is I'm going to buff those to a shine using a pig bristle dauber. Now, you can also use a cotton chamois. If you were gonna be doing this with the cotton chamois, which we might actually try both, is you just would put it on your thumb and kind of really work it to a high shine. I would use a plusher cotton chamois. I wouldn't use the high shine chamois for this because you really want as much friction as possible. But I normally just use a pig bristle dauber. And what you're gonna do is, again, you're just gonna buff that hard wax to a nice soft shine. And as you can see, it really doesn't take much work. Glazing your edges and heels is just like the mirror shine process. The more coats of waxes you apply, the higher the shine's gonna be. I normally just stop at one, but there's really nothing stopping you from doing several coats of a mirror gloss to the edges and heels to really get a nice, beautiful high shine. If you're doing that, I would absolutely transition at some point to just using the chamois because the smoother surface is going to further elevate that shine. So there you go. Just with a little bit of buffing, we've got a pretty nice shine developed there. Certainly more than no shine at all. And I think it really just makes a big difference in the overall look of the shoe. So I'm just using the cotton chamois. Especially on the edge, it's actually easier to kind of get the chamois in between your index finger and your thumb and just kind of really work that to higher gloss shine. And there we go, pretty nice. So I'm gonna do the other shoe. So I'm gonna start again with this dauber just because I feel like it does a better job in the beginning. And then I'm gonna transition to the chamois just to finish it off because again, I can get this wrapped around my thumb and with this real kind of tight edge, I can really get in here much better actually. If you look at this, we've got a real nice kind of elevated shine on the edges and heels. Again, it's just that kind of final, 5 to 10% that really sets apart a well-maintained shoe from the rest of the crowd. Again, you can shine your edges and heels to your heart's desire. This is just one coat of the Saphir mirror gloss. I might even keep these shoes around the office for a few extra days and try to apply, a few more coats to kind of just see how shiny I can take that. The true experts can glaze edges and heels to a mirror shine. It's absolutely incredible whenever you see it. Hard to maintain, but looks beautiful. I think this will do it for us today. So here we are, my Baron de Redé burgundy pigskin loafers. Absolutely beautiful, nice shine, taken to the next level. The first polish, I always enjoy the first polish for a new pair of shoes. It really gives me an opportunity to kind of slow down, savor, really enjoy these shoes. I always do it, honestly, after I've worn them a few times, as I've done in this case. And anyway, right now, these are probably my favorite pair of shoes. Between this and the new Dimitri Gomez shoes, it's hard to have favorites, kind of like your children. Which one do you love most? Hard to say, but I really enjoy these right now. They're certainly my favorite shoe of the moment. I've got another pair being made in a black pigskin, and honestly, I just enjoy wearing these so much, especially here in Texas, that I'd love to have a pair made out of a dark brown crocodile. I'm not a big crocodile guy, but I think I could go for a pair of these and a dark brown crocodile. Shoot, I could even do a dark brown suede. So, once you find a shoe that you love, why not have it made out of every single material? If you have any questions about this process, please feel free to ask them in the comments section below. I get back to all those questions and comments personally. And lastly, if you like this video, give us the thumbs up, or better yet, subscribe to our channel. so that you can receive notifications whenever we post new videos. And lastly, make sure you visit hangerproject.com, where you can view the largest assortment of luxury garment care and shoe care products on the earth, and other products for the well-dressed. And while you're there, take a moment and subscribe to our newsletter so that you can receive notifications whenever we launch new products and have promotions. And then also we send a weekly digest out with a summary of all of the YouTube videos we've posted on our channel that week. I'm Kirby Allison, founder of The Hanger Project. We love helping the well-dressed take care of their wardrobes. Thanks for joining us.